I am coining the phrase, you cannot spell DreamTech without MTech, and hopefully after you see this video you will understand why I started saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to my channel, you may not know that I don't provide affiliate links to knives. However, if you would like to support my channel, there are links to affordable and very useful tools that I use for sharpening and maintaining my knives in the video's description. Please join me in thanking my channel members who support me on a monthly basis. First, let's make sure we understand how the OEM designates these models. So they all say DreamTech on the box, but a quick search using AI tells me that the OEM for this is a company called WinPlus and Fanghua. So they retail these knives under DreamTech name, so all their models start with letter D. This model is called D3896MG, M for micarta, G for gray. This model is D4052 G10, BL, blue. And this model is D9042 Titanium Black. This company OEMs knives for multiple brands. So don't be surprised if you see some similarities with brands that are familiar to you. 3896 here has contoured handle, and it's definitely real micarta. I can see the layers. Very nicely laid out pattern. I like it, the little raindrops. Its overall length is 7.5 inches, 190 millimeters. The blade length measured from the handle out to the tip is 3 5/16 or 84 millimeters. And the cutting edge length measured from the choil is 3 1/4 inch, and in millimeters it is 83 millimeters. 4052 here is a multi-actuation dagger style blade. Has flat G10 bluish gray color scales, and the overall length is 7.5 inches, and in millimeters, what do I get here? Same 190 millimeters. The blade length is 3 1/4 inch, and the blade length measured from the handle is 3 3/16, or we're going to call it 80 millimeters, so a little shorter than the previous knife. The cutting edge here though is 3 1/4 due to much longer belly on this knife, 82 millimeters cutting edge length. And now let's measure this big boy. This is a class above the other knives with a contoured handle and Damascus. It's a true Damascus, not just a colorized titanium. It's a true Damascus inlay and pocket clip. This looks like maybe anodized aluminum, titanium, or steel. We'll find out when I take it apart. And overall has a very nice matte finish here and a polished frosty finish on the blade. I like how all the features on the blade laid out with care, very crisp dividers between the lines. So very well machined blade. Has all three have lanyard holes, by the way. Overall length of this knife is 7 3/4 inch, and in millimeters it is 197. The blade length is 3 1/4 inch or 82 millimeters, and the belly or cutting edge is 3 1/4, just a hair over 3 1/4, and in millimeters is 84 millimeters. Getting close to measuring the blade hardness for these three different steels that came from the same OEM. To do the hardness test, I need to take the blades out of the handles. Here's a look at the clip side of all the knives. This is a milled clip. I tried it in a pocket because the point on the underside of the clip is almost coincident with the ledge here, with the edge of the spring cutout. It is a little hard to get in the pocket past around, so you're going to have a little bit of a space unused where it gets hard to push it in the pocket, if you know what I mean. These are just nice pocket clips with a little bit of the raised ramp here in the front. This one is by far the smoothest pocket entry and exit out of the three, and all three sit securely in my pocket. Let's tear them up. This comes apart. It's a little trickier, and reassembly is quite tricky. Okay, and then this whole thing comes off. There's no other way to take the blade out of this guy because it has stop pins, etc. And here's the mechanism. We can talk about it a little later. Right now we're focusing on hardness test on all three blades. And as always, I start my test by verifying that my Rockwell tester is still within the calibration. For that, I'm using this NIST independently certified block. It's serialized to the paperwork, and it is 62 HRC spot on. So this segment will be continuous and uninterrupted, so that you know there are no shenanigans behind the scenes of any kind. Once you watch this calibration, the footage will be accelerated 2x, and I am voicing it over. And let me give you a fair warning, there's some graphic testing going on in there because I ran into at least one huge surprise. Ready? Time to release the lever and see where we are. And we're at 62.2 HRC, so my Rockwell tester normally reads a couple tenths of the Rockwell point high. And the first blade I'm putting on the block here is the D2 steel off of this liner lock knife with a canvas micarta that looks kind of like Damascus micarta. The reason I accelerate the video is because every time I poke, it has to sit for 10 seconds at maximum load. And we got 64.8 HRC. I was extremely shocked the first time I pulled this result. This is the highest I've ever tested D2 on my channel. The only knife that came close to it was a very cheap F&Go that I got off of Amazon a while ago. So the second poke ended up being even higher at 65.1. Clearly, there's nothing wrong with my Rockwell tester, as you will see later as I test the other blades. It's just what this blade is heat treated to. Doing a third poke just in case, and then I'll average them out. 64.8 again, so the average for this blade is huge. 64.9 HRC, and that worries me quite a bit, and I'll talk about it a little later in the video why I'm so worried. Next is the 14C28N blade off of the Dagger style knife with a roundhouse lock. I am wondering if I'll be ever as surprised as I was before. No surprises here. 60.8 HRC. It's not a bad result for 14C28N because, you know, that's what this steel usually heat treated to, 60 to 62 HRC. I've seen it a little higher and a little lower, but generally it performs well in this range. No surprises there. 61.1. We're still in the very same range. We don't want to see more than half a point of HRC deviation between the pokes. And I'm doing it one more time to give you a solid average. And that's why I'm doing this due diligence. I am convinced that even the first poke gave me enough information, but for you, my viewers, I want to give you average. And the calculated average is 61 HRC spot on. And next we're moving into the bougie DreamTech territory with this M390 blade. And as you know from numerous videos, this is a very common super steel that people use. I expect at least 62 HRC plus or minus half a point, which would be evidence of really good heat treat. Maybe not the best heat treated. You can go a little higher. And we got 61.5, which is right within this good range. If you want to go higher, you have to use cryogenics between every step of heat treatment process. So after austenitizing and then after both tempering cycles, which costs a lot of money without adding a huge amount of performance to the steel. And on the second poke, we're at 61.8 HRC. Cryogenics is expensive process because it requires a lot of in-between steps. and that's why you would expect to spend a lot more money on a knife that is above 62 HRC with M390 steel. Let's see, the third poke result is 61.9 HRC, but I noticed that my poke was too close to the previous one, so I am going to retest. I want to give you an absolutely clean result here, so I'm going to eliminate this. I'm not supposed to be closer than 3 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch between the pokes on the blade. So eager to see how well we perform. Ooh, it shot up to 62.4, so I'm calling this average 61.9. Spot on. I have concerns with the gray micarta and the roundhouse knife. Both are budget knives and both have evidence of production shortcuts. 3 major issues with this one. There's an actual crack in the spring housing. There is a heat-induced discoloration at the tip and on the lock face of the blade where it engages the lock bar. This yellowish brown color suggests 735 Fahrenheit or 390 degrees Celsius. That's how much some goon overheated the steel while grinding it. The crack in the lock doesn't seem to affect anything. The tip I can regrind, but that lock face will wear out as if it was made out of cast iron. That liner lock knife is really well built, but that excessive hardness on the blade worries me quite a bit. Because 65 HRC is the highest hardness you can achieve by austenitizing D2 steel, and then if you forget to temper, it will stay at that hardness. So lack of tempering is a major concern. I suspect this blade will be as brittle as glass. So out of these 3 knives, the bougie DreamTech is the only one I would trust to be my EDC. I am even willing to overlook slightly undersized pivot hardware. Of course, in the price range that I paid for it, you will not be able to find a competitor with the same level of high-end materials. But you can find a really decent knife in this price range, including some US made. Sure, Dagger, Misto, or MSI don't come with titanium handles or Thai maskers at this price range, but they do have high-end steels on the blade. Budget DreamTechs are in a very high demand amongst a younger crowd in the US, and that's why they ratcheted production numbers to the degree where they cannot control the process as well as some other manufacturers. And at 20,000 subscribers, my channel is just simply not big enough to move the needle in the right direction. I would advise DreamTech to slow down, pay attention, improve employee training, and ratchet down quality control. After I shot some of this footage, I ordered another DreamTech with a roundhouse lock just to make sure I'm not experiencing one-off issue. I'll work on that video as soon as I get the knife, so stay tuned, stay subscribed, and hit notification bells so you don't miss it.